Okay, everyone, just me again, Jeff Donnelly, JP Donnelly, jpdonnelly8.com, JP Donnelly8 at YouTube, JP Donnelly8 Instagram, JP Donnelly just about everywhere you look, on the internet. So, today was the last day to file any motions to be heard on Friday in a couple days. Because Friday's, the day we go into court for another pre-trial, whatever it's called. We already did one a couple months ago, but now the ADA Hobbs wanted to do another one where we show jury lists, witness lists. We have any other outgoing motions or anything like that heard on that day. So what I'm going to read to you today is my motion to reconsider the ruling on defendant's motion to dismiss, and also my proposed jury instructions. It shouldn't be that long of a video today. Okay, so, and this right here is for the Springfield gun case. So we got civil action number 2123 CR 002108. Springfield District Court, in case you want to go out and take a look at the file to see if I'm lying or telling the truth or whatnot, because it's all there. Okay, Jeffery P. Donnelly, defendant versus Commonwealth plaintiff. Motion to reconsider ruling on defendant's motion to dismiss. Now comes the defendant in the above entitled action and respectfully moves this honorable court to reconsider their ruling denying Mr. Donnelly's motion to dismiss, as their reasoning for denial was unjustified and contrary to law, as well as to the facts of the case. At no time did the Commonwealth show or allege any proof as to their allegation that Mr. Donnelly held a valid Massachusetts Class A license to carry on May 7, 2021. In fact, Mr. Donnelly provided proof that his Massachusetts Class A LTC had expired on April 24th, 2021, thus proving that on the day in question, Mr. Donnelly did not have an active license to turn in to the Springfield Police Department on May 7th, 2021. That right there should have dismissed everything. That alone should have squashed it, but it didn't. At no time did the Commonwealth show or allege any proof that the Springfield Police Department had cashed Mr. Donnelly's renewal check and sent Mr. Donnelly said receipt in order to renew Mr. Donnelly's Massachusetts Class A firearm license. Per the Mass General Law, said receipt would have been required to be turned over to the Springfield Police Department upon request. In the event of a revocation or suspension, said receipt would have been needed to be carried by Mr. Donnelly for Mr. Donnelly to be considered in the renewal process, and for his Class A license to carry. Basically that means that I would have had to have the renewal on me if I was carrying my firearm. The renewal, receipt, and also the expired license. The Springfield Police Department had violated Mr. Donnelly's Second Amendment rights when they sent him back his renewal application instead of cashing his check and forwarding the funds to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, thus refusing Mr. Donnelly the protections of having his Class A license to carry in the renewal process. The Springfield Police Department willfully falsified information to the court several times in their application for not only a criminal complaint to be filed against Mr. Donnelly, but also for the warrant to issue, including but not limited to falsely claiming that 2 antique low-capacity handguns were AK-47 machine guns, and claiming that other handguns were .45 automatics, giving the court the false impression that they were machine guns as well, when Mr. Donnelly does not own any machine guns. Now see, the claimed AK-47s were antique Tokarev Romanian pistols. Just look up Romanian Tokarev pistols and you'll see what I'm talking about. So look up Romanian Tokarev pistols and look up AK-47s and ask yourself, could they be anything further from each other? And the .45 automatics, those were 1911 .45 caliber handguns. not known as 45 automatics. And also, in the paperwork that they received from the state, none of the paperwork claimed that they were AK-47s or 45 automatic machine guns. Okay, Assistant District Attorney Hobbs claimed that the Mass General Law does not require that the Springfield police had to provide Mr. Donnelly with a suspension letter in writing. This is not only false, as the Mass General Law clearly says it does, but so does the case that this court quoted in their denial of Mr. Donnelly's motion to dismiss, being Commonwealth versus Adams, 482 Massachusetts 514, and that's a 2019 case. In Commonwealth versus Adams, the facts state, in quotes, at 8:15 p.m. that day, 3 police officers went to the defendant's home to serve written notice of the suspension, ... end quotes. Now see, that right there is, Commonwealth versus Adams. That quote is from. Now see, the Springfield Police Department never gave me anything in writing suspending my license when they allegedly suspended it. They never notified me my license was suspended either until early May, till May 7th. That right there shows that, I believe that they were looking at catching me with a gun case, being outside of my firearm license. Because even though they suspended it on April 12th, they never notified me until May 7th. Okay, so the alleged facts in this case, well, hold on. The alleged facts in case that this court quoted in denying Mr. Donnelly's motion to dismiss, being Commonwealth versus Adams, 482 Massachusetts 514, year 2019, are not similar to the facts in this case. In Commonwealth versus Adams, the police went to Adams' home to serve written notice and to confiscate Adams' firearms that were located within Adams' home, located in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. In the current case, Mr. Donnelly's firearms were located in the state of Vermont, being a state that Mr. Donnelly was still lawfully allowed to own firearms in. In fact, not only had Mr. Donnelly informed the Springfield, Massachusetts police on April 23, 2021, that he was intending on bringing his firearms to Vermont, but had also told them on May 7, 2021, that his firearms were located in Vermont. And then we have the fact that when his court order, the fact that when this court ordered that Mr. Donnelly surrender his firearms as conditions of release, in this case to the Springfield, Massachusetts Police Department, the said police department entered into the state of Vermont in order to confiscate said firearms. And Adams was refusing to turn over firearms located in Massachusetts in disregard to the law. In the present case, the police are in violation of the law, not myself. For the above-mentioned reasons, Mr. Donnelly respectfully requests that this case should be dismissed without delay. Respectfully submitted, the defendant, Mr. Jeffrey P. Donnelly, March 23, 2021, a certificate of service. I hereby certify that a true copy of Mr. Donnelly's motion to reconsider, ruling on Mr. Donnelly's motion to dismiss, was served upon the Hamilton County District Attorney's Office, located inside the Springfield District Court on March 23, 2022, via in-hand delivery. Okay, so that right there is the motion to reconsider. Upon receiving this, the judge should read it, understand it, and dismiss the charges, because it's cut dry and it's just showing how they got it wrong, which honestly, I don't think it was a mistake that they got it wrong. I believe that it was an intentional act because they don't want to dismiss these charges. They would rather risk a jury and possibly even taint a jury, because if you look at my other case, I was assaulted by court officers. So, and if you look back about a little bit over 10 years ago, and I had my last jury trial, the court officers in that case actually tried to poison the jury against me. I found that out actually by one of the prospective jurors, who ended up being an attorney, who I had talked to like maybe a year prior to that at a gas station, who was like, hey, he's like, Mr. Donnelly, you don't want this jury. This jury has been told that this is going to be at least a 2-day jury trial. because of you. You know, they're blaming you for it. So I mean, a lot of people that were coming back for a second day of jury duty, or even longer, were not happy with me because the court officers claimed that I was the reason for this. Yeah, just picture if you're on a jury and you were told, yeah, the defendant's an asshole, and you guys need to come back another day, at least one more day, because of him. Yeah, tell me that wouldn't, you know, like, have you want to convict the guy, you know, like, if you possibly could. But the real reason why it was a 2-day jury trial was because the assistant district attorney in the case filed a motion to have me institutionalized in Bridgewater State Hospital and had a psychiatrist interview me for a couple hours, and was very upset when the psychiatrist came back and said that I was perfectly capable of standing trial and I did not need to be institutionalized. You know, so the ADA in that case was the reason why that was a 2-day trial, by trying to not allow me to have my trial and represent myself in that case, which I did represent myself in that case, and I did win. Maybe one of these days I'll actually post a couple videos about that, maybe even the trial itself, because I do have the, you know, I do have the court recording of that trial. Okay, so now we got the sample jury instructions that I put in today for part of the hearing on Friday. You know, to see if they're going to allow my jury instructions or the Commonwealth's jury instructions, or if the court itself is going to make up their own jury instructions. So who knows? And the jury instructions are a major thing too, because Assistant District Attorney Hobbs is trying to have jury instructions without dates on them. You know, he doesn't want the May 8th date put on the jury instructions because he knows that the firearm license was expired on April 24th, and that the firearms were outside of Massachusetts on April 23rd. So if the May 8th date is on there in the jury instructions, he knows that he's screwed. And May 8th is when I was contacted by the Springfield police. Okay, so jury instructions. Now comes the defendant in the above entitled action and respectfully moves this honorable court to establish the use of Mr. Donnelly's simple jury instructions in this case. Simple, because that's what I did. Simple. The ADA wanted like 8-9 pages of jury instructions, you know, in order to get someone lost in the facts and lost in what he's asking for. Me, I've got under a page. That's all. Did the Commonwealth prove that on May 7th, 2021, that Mr. Donnelly had an unexpired Massachusetts Class A LTC? Yes, the Commonwealth did prove. No, the Commonwealth did not prove. Number 2, that on or before May 7th, 2021, did the Commonwealth prove that Mr. Donnelly had paid for the renewal of his Massachusetts Class A LTC, and that the City of Springfield's Police Department had filed said renewal with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and provided Mr. Donnelly with a receipt for fees paid? Obviously, they didn't. Same with the first one, obviously, you know, like my firearm license expired on April 24th. Okay, now number 3. Did the Commonwealth prove that on May 7th, 2021, that Mr. Donnelly had any firearms located within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? Yes, the Commonwealth did prove. No, the Commonwealth did not prove. Once again, you know, the City of Springfield's Police Department cannot prove that because they picked the firearms up from Vermont, and the firearms were brought to Vermont. And it's up to the Springfield Police Department to prove that the firearms were not in Vermont on May 7th. And then the last, if you have replied yes to any of these above statements, you must convict. If not, you must find Mr. Donnelly not guilty. Jeffrey P. Donnelly, dated March 23rd, 2021. Pretty simple, right? And remember something. The district attorney's office is supposed to be there to prosecute, you know, criminals, prosecute crimes, and people who are alleged to have committed crimes. They're not there to persecute, you know, people. With these 3 cases that I've been facing over the last year, these show that I'm not being prosecuted for criminal offenses. I'm being persecuted by a corrupt district attorney's office with also a corrupt court, playing along. Otherwise, why do these exist? The Munson case was dismissed finally because the media, a media outlet, showed interest and said that and asked for permission to be filming it. And then that was dismissed without the alleged victim and witnesses taking the stand as the judge had ordered, or even showing up. And the other case, I'm waiting on a ruling on that, and that's like the court officers deleting video footage showing what they alleged happened. If that video footage did not show them acting improperly, they would have saved that video footage and used that in order to convict me. But the problem is that video footage showed that they were lying, and showed that they were the aggressors, and showed that I didn't even fight back, and that they abused and beat me. That's why, that's why that video footage was was deleted. Also, the judge in the case, Judge McCulkey, he refused to even watch the video showing me being physically assaulted. Showing me, well, before I got physically assaulted, showing how I was speaking to the court officers. Why didn't he want to see that video? Why didn't he want to watch that video? Because it showed that I wasn't acting in the manner that they claimed. And that's the court officers themselves, who, when I have these trials, they're going to be with the judge, with the jury, which makes no sense at all. Okay, well, hopefully I get a ruling back on my motion to dismiss with the Palmer mask situation. And hopefully when I go in on Friday, this is dismissed. Okay? Well, once again, Jeff Donnelly, the author of Raw Motion and Political Repression, which can be purchased for $20. PayPal, jpdonnelly8 at AOL.com, or my P.O. Box, which is going to be down below, but also as P.O. Box 51162, Indian Orchard, Massachusetts 01151. Cash or check be sent there. Buy a piece of artwork, or just send a donation to help the cause, because any money I raise obviously is helping the fight. Okay? Have a great day. Like, share, tell your friends. If you don't believe me, look at the documents for yourself. Have a great day.